progressing very well. Just now, Secretary has announced that we will allow those who have already been tested negative to leave the premises early and also able to leave the area. And we are also on track to lift this registration and testing declaration as scheduled. We're now open to 40 questions, and each reporter can ask 3 questions. Please mute the microphone and state the media you represent. On your third row, the lady in white overalls.
You've got 13 cases out of 7,000 people tested. What do you think of the positive rate? Is it higher or lower than what you expected? And my second question is, many people are wondering whether this mini lockdown in Jordan is a preparatory exercise for lockdowns of larger scale or even a citywide lockdown in future. Can you share with us your thoughts?
Sorry, may I know your name?
Wendy from RTHK, thank you.
Okay, so first of all, about the positive cases or the confirmed cases. So far, we have identified out of the 7,000 odds testing that there is 13 confirmed cases, and the positive rate is 0.17%. In fact, if you look at the positive percentage, if we look at our testing strategy, the Hong Kong government testing strategy, that is the compulsory testing, the target group testing, plus the voluntary testing. So the overall positive rate is also about 0.17%. So it is similar. Of course, in a small area that we have identified throughout the 2 days that we have, or 1.5 day, identified these cases, we will be analyzing, the cases in a more detailed fashion. But I think the compulsory testing and also the testing within a area with the restriction of movement is effective to identify these cases and also to very quickly, as soon as possible, detect as well as isolate these cases. And also the close contact will also be quarantined. So I think this is an effective method in this particular situation. Obviously, we will be reviewing the situation in the cases that CHP have identified, and if there is such a need, obviously we do not rule out any future operations like this. But we would also like to say that currently the issuance of the compulsory testing notice is also an effective method in identifying the cases. As you may recall, that we have lowered our threshold of compulsory testing, issuing a compulsory testing notice, as well as identifying a core area for testing, for compulsory testing as well. So I think, we will review the cases, we will look at the criteria and also the consideration, including public health considerations, the number of confirmed cases, plus the environmental factors. That is, in this particular situation, the buildings are old, there are a lot of subdivided flats and so on, plus the supplementary information of the sewage study, as well as looking at our current capacity. So all these are considering factors.
Next, please, the lady there. I'm from RTHK. I would like to ask Professor Chen, this time around the percentage is 0.17. That is the positive percentage. Are you satisfied with this percentage? Is it different from your expectation? And now you have only found 13 confirmed cases. Do you think it's a waste of money and resources and manpower? And you have knocked on the doors of different households. Or how many households have not answered the door? And this morning you have only found 100 persons. So for those who didn't answer the door, for those who have left the area, do you think you can find them? Within such a short period of time, we have conducted tests for more than 7,000 people, and we have identified 13 cases, and the percentage is 0.17. And for the 0.17%, it is quite similar to what we have found in our schemes. Now, for those who are willing to take tests, we have given them tests. And we have a number of measures for people to take their tests. We also provide tests for people who have to take tests. So the positive percentage is also 0.17 from all those tests. So for this time of testing, actually earlier on in Yau Ma Tei, we have designated some areas, for example, the core area. We already started compulsory testing then, and we have identified some cases. That's why we thought that the risk was quite high, and we needed to take such an action. That is, for this area, we need to find out all the positive cases. We don't think it's a waste of resources and manpower. We think this is something that we should do. Mr. Choi? Well, for follow-up actions and law enforcement actions, we have done them before. Afterwards, we will continue to work in the area, and we will try to find out whether those households that have not answered our knocks can be found. And we have found about 470 households that have not answered. And some people have moved away, and also the mobility in this area is quite high. It's not like a public housing estate. We have a lot of records for public housing estates. We have post notices on those households who have not responded. Maybe people are hiding inside. So if they open the door, those notices will be torn, then we would know. So we will adopt a multi-pronged approach. We will continue to track these cases. When we look at the area, we think that some of the units are already vacant. So like other buildings that are subjected to compulsory testing, we will seriously follow up. Well, we don't know who are living in those flats. Well, when we look at the census, it's about 2.8. So if nobody lives inside, then it's considered vacant, and it will be 0. Well, we have looked at the census. The old figure is that there are about 8,000 people living in the area. Well, some people may have already moved out, and some might be under quarantine already. So for now, we have tested more than 7,000 people, so the figure is more or less right. Next question, please. I'm from Now TV. Well, for the arrangements for people living and entering the restricted area, where is the exit exactly? So they are allowed to go out of the restricted area freely. So if they leave the area and when they come back, are there special arrangements? And for the Yau Ma Tei fruit market, we have seen over 70 cases. So what will you do about it? So would you also designate the fruit market as a restricted area and ask the hawkers to undergo compulsory testing? Well, I do not have a map with me now, but on the ground, our staff would explain clearly to the residents. Now, after 6 p.m., we will allow those who have taken the test and the test results are negative. those wearing wristbands. That is, for residents of this kind, they can be allowed to leave the area. Of course, that will be registered. That is their entrance and leaving the area. And for the restriction declaration, actually would expire at midnight tonight. It will only be lifted by midnight tonight. However, we allow residents to do this because we would like to thank them for their cooperation. And for the confirmed patients, they have already been taken away from the restricted area. So in the area, we have our colleagues on the ground to inform the people there. Later on, I'll give you more detailed information. Professor Chen. Now we have taken this action. And outside Yamate, we understand that there are also confirmed cases. And the CHP will continue to monitor very closely. That would include the fruit market you mentioned and other places. Then we will make a decision as to which type of compulsory testing is most appropriate. Well, for people in those areas, I hope that they will take a test if compulsory testing is imposed. Next question. I'm from HKO1. Well, for the residents in the restricted area, we are told that they have received food supplies, but they have to cook those food. And some people are living in units without cooking facilities. And some elderly people have been waiting for hot food supply for many hours. And many people complain that nobody answers the hotline. So why is this happening? And what will the government do about this? Well, a lot of residents have left the restricted area before the lockdown. So have you tracked down those residents? Will they be held liable?
I think
Secretary Trey, on the arrangements, the district office and on the ground, we have received inquiries and that they're able to locate the staff or assistant quickly when they get to the street. And before they commence the operation, we work with the Social Welfare Department to identify the elderly residents. Where do we need to send hot food? That have been arranged. When we receive calls for assistance, not just the telephone hotline, or when we undergo testing, when they arrive at the testing stations, we can provide them with different kind of food stuff. Some will be instant noodles that would not require can opener or bread or chocolate. In the process, we notice for any wrinkles identified, we'll review later so that we can do a better job in the future. I would like to thank the public for the support and understanding in the past 2 days. And a lot of the vital services are quickly provided and in place. And yesterday we noticed that there's some animals in shops and worry that they need to be fed. We quickly arrange our disciplinary officers to help to address this situation. We will also conduct or tracking down the individuals. This is civic responsibility for themselves and for others. I hope that they can comply with the compulsory testing requirement. Let me repeat, anyone in breach of the restriction and testing declaration is an offense and will be fined $25,000 and 6 months imprisonment. Next question. On the fourth row, the lady in white jacket. TV News. A question for Secretary Choi. Does that mean that if those manage to wear a wristband and just show their negative testing results, that they can leave in all four corners of the specified areas or the specified checkpoints? So does that mean that they can leave the area as they wish? And for those in the restricted area, would you consider a second testing? And for those who may be in incubation period, that how you make such arrangements? Secretary Choi. In this testing operation, and yesterday we stressed it, hope that we can take a snapshot and to test everyone in the area, and we achieve this objective in an orderly fashion. In the past, we conduct a compulsory testing operation, for example, in the case of Jet Ming Chun. And on that day, I would like to thank the public cooperation as well. The compliance rate was over 90%. If you still recall, we also had a sewage surveillance with the drainage service department. These are the different methods which will follow it. Instead, compulsory testing, withdrawing the staff after testing. We hope that the buildings will not have any silent carriers remain. This quite is very cunning. The incubation period is quite long. A lot of the individuals might have tested 3 days ago and today. The previous case is that it was still have not have onset at the first testing. When we found many viruses in the sewage samples, that we are concerned about silent carriers in the building. Therefore, we issued another compulsory testing notice, and also by this way, we managed to find some other cases through second testing. We'll continue to follow in this area by different methods, and for example, the sewage and the environment, and also the cases. To point to any likelihood outbreak, we'll deploy different ways to help to eliminate all risk in the area. So whether there will be future tests, we'll continue to follow up to ascertain any risk left in the building. If where warranted, we will commence the corresponding arrangements. I do not have the map with me. There will be a specified checkpoint to allow the public, well, simply put, after they've been tested and they also been provided with negative result and wear a wristband, then we will register them. So to facilitate an orderly entry and exit. And the restricted area declaration will also be lifted by today midnight.
最後一題。
Last question. This lady in black. I'm from Mingpao. But for the restricted area, well, how many doors have you knocked on? You said that 470 units didn't respond. So what's the percentage? And for the confirmed cases, in which buildings are they? Well, people may have been to the restricted area, or they may live in the restricted area, but they have taken tests in other areas. Do you have the relevant figures? Experts say that a second compulsory testing would have to be carried out. So would you do that? And how about the fruits market? 16 blocks have seen confirmed cases. So would that be designated as a restricted area as well? You have many questions. So when will you take actions? Mr. Choi? Yesterday, we visited 3,650 homes, And we will use different methods to follow up on these units. We will try to look at data and do the relevant follow-up work. Professor Chen, this morning we announced that we have done 6,900 tests. The HAD and the disciplinary forces knocked on many more doors again this morning, and now we have done over 7,000 tests. As for the second testing, we know that there is an incubation period. The CHP will be reviewing and analyzing this dozen cases, and they will be looking at their close contacts. So we will try to find out whether there is a need for a second testing. We do not exclude this possibility, but we need the analysis from the CHP first. We've just got the data. So after the analysis, we'll look into it. As for your third question, we will not be just looking at this area. If you look at Yau Chin Mong, there are other areas which are seeing an increasing number of confirmed cases. If you have noticed, in Yau Chin Mong, we have been issuing compulsory testing notices, and some buildings are subjected to compulsory testing. So if we find more cases in any other areas of buildings, we will definitely follow up. I'm sorry, the speaker is off mic. Yes, I will answer this question again. We have checked all the residents. As long as they are tested negative and they have a wristband, that means they have been tested and they are safe, then they can leave the restricted area. Well, but some people may have been hiding and now they suddenly show up. So we will definitely check their wristband, and we need to have the negative test results. So if we find such cases, we will definitely follow up and we will enforce the law. Thank you. I'll give you the relevant information later because I do not have the map.